What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the RAS Project, Real Stories from Real Humans. This is where we debunk the bullshit and fluff and talk about 100% proven tactics and strategies to help you grow your life and business. And of course, my name is Ivan Temelkov, and I am your host. I've got one favor to ask. If you found value in this episode, please tell others about the RAS Project. I would greatly appreciate it. They can pick up the RAS Project, subscribe to the RAS Project on any major podcasting platform: Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Pandora, or anywhere else that you get your podcasts from. And then, of course, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Ivan Temelkov. In fact, very active on YouTube Shorts. If you haven't heard of YouTube Shorts, you definitely need to get in on the action, but you can check out a lot more exclusive content that I share there from the podcast and just my general thoughts as well. With that being said, got questions? I've got answers. If you've got a question that you would like me to answer, to talk about, to cover on the RAS Project, please send me an email at ivan@razorsharpdigital.com. In the subject line, make sure you put something relevant so I know there's a question that you want to tackle on the RAS Project. And with that being said, today's topic of the show is the work and family balance. But before we dive into that, what I want to do is, so I want to frame this first. And what I mean by that is I want to frame the discussion first so that people, especially for people who don't know who I am, my background, and by the way, you can find out more about me on my website, ivantemelkov.com. It's got my entire story, my bio, and all of that. But for the sake of this discussion, I want to frame it by starting out and telling you how and what you're going to learn when it comes to the work and family balance. If there's really such a thing, honestly. Personally, I don't think there is such thing, but there's an alternative to that, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. So make sure you stay tuned in. So let me frame this a little bit. So I'm an entrepreneur. I'm currently involved in two businesses. I'm married to my wife, Amanda. We've been together for 11 years now, and we have two beautiful kids, Hudson, who is 5, and Emerson, who is 3 years old. And the reason I mentioned two businesses is because my primary focus right now is my digital marketing agency, Razor Sharp Digital. And what we do with Razor Sharp Digital is we help companies become more human-centric through emotional engagement, community building, and human-to-human business practices. We'll help them expand and or develop their holistic digital footprint. So that is where I spend the vast majority of my time. Now, the other business that I'm also involved in is my father's flooring company that is based here in St. Louis. Actually, both of the companies are based here in St. Louis, Missouri. And I already mentioned that I'm married, been together with my wife for 11 years. We've got 2 kids, my son Hudson, who is 5 years old, and my daughter Emerson, who is 3 years old. And so so I wanted to frame this because I wanted you guys to understand what we're about to discuss here and how it relates to the course of this conversation. Now, this is something, the work and family balance is something that I've struggled with for a very long time, because I had always wanted to see and discover if there's such thing as a balance, and there isn't a balance. As much as you want to balance it all between business and life and kids and marriage, there really is no such thing. But what there is priorities, right? So as an entrepreneur, and there's a lot of people who listen to the RAS Project that are entrepreneurs, small business owners, mothers, fathers, also. So absolutely 100%, who we're talking about here. But what I want you to understand is that you have to prioritize. The the balance is something that is non-existent. Um, and the way that you manage all of this, so the way you manage your work and family, is by finding priorities. Okay, so just to kind of give you an example of what I'm talking about here. So for me, family is extremely important. Family is everything. It's the number one thing. I won't go down the rabbit hole talking about the definition of family, because family is not just by blood. Family can be people that you're extremely close to. But with that being said, family is number one for me. But without my business and the family business and my own business, also, there wouldn't be a family. I wouldn't be able to support my family. So there are contingencies, there are dependencies, so to speak, when it comes to work and family. But how does that all coincide, right? How does that all play together? And a lot of people, strive for that work and family balance, right? So here's something that I found that has worked for me for years now, is that you have to create routines, daily routines that work within your life. So if you're an entrepreneur and a business owner like myself, you have kids, you're married also, so how do you go about finding the rhyme and reason between all of those things? Well, here's what I do. For me, is like I said, you have to create daily routines for yourself. It's important to create these daily routines because they're going to help guide you in terms of productivity and accomplishing certain things. So, as I mentioned just a couple of minutes ago, family is the number one thing for me. So, what my day to day looks like on most days is, for instance, today is Monday. We're recording this episode of the RAS Project. So, this morning, I woke up, affirmations for gratitude. I get my kids up 5 days a week, 4 days a week. Um, I get them both up. I get my son up. I have to get him up no later than 7 or 7:15 a.m. in the morning. I got to make sure that he has breakfast, make sure that he takes his medicine, and make sure that he gets dressed, and that I'm able to get him on the school bus for kindergarten, for preschool, um, by 7:45 a.m. So that's the very first thing ultimately that I do in the course of my day. The second thing that I do is, in the interim, what I do, and if you've been following me on Facebook, excuse me, you'll be able to notice this, is that I do my daily reading. So I do my daily reading for a few minutes. I answer the question of the day. And this is after I have, gotten my son on the school bus. And at that point, it's my daughter's turn, because I have to take her to daycare, usually between 9 and 10 a.m. In the morning. So my priorities on daily basis is taking care of my kids, making sure that they're dressed and ready, making sure my son, gets on the bus and gets to school on time, and ensuring that my daughter is fed and dressed, and I drive her to daycare. So these are the first things that I do in the morning. In between, there's very little. I might check my phone here and there, but I don't actually do any kind of a work related stuff. Now, my day technically does not start until around 9:30, 10 a.m. Somewhere in that vicinity. And again, we're talking about the topic of today, of this episode 159 of the RAS Project, is the work and family balance. So, and what we're talking about here is this, how to manage work and family. If you're someone like me, 2 kids, wife, married, how do you make sense of all of it? And I just mentioned, what my morning looks like. I would love to, be able to go to the gym in the morning. And that has been a struggle for a long time for me, because I couldn't quite figure out, from a time management standpoint, how to actually manage the gym and my marriage and my kids and my business, 2 businesses. my digital marketing agency, and then the family business as well. So, with that being said, after taking care of my kids in the morning, my son is on the school bus, my daughter is at daycare, then I get down to checking email, doing client work, any meetings in the morning, and just really getting my day going. So that's usually Monday through Friday, by the way, this routine that I'm talking about here. So anywhere from like around 10 a.m. To around probably 2 or 2:30 p.m., I'm doing work. Now that is contingent upon whether or not I have any meetings, whether or not I have any lunch meetings, or we've got company culture related stuff, which is every 2 weeks on a Friday. So Friday is an exception to that. So I usually have about a 4, maybe 5 hour window where I'm actually doing actual work and focusing on the business. And I try to be uninterrupted. I try to be as productive as I can, as focused as I can. One of the things that I've been doing for the last 8 or 9 months that has really helped me is fasting. So I fast from around 10 p.m. the night before until around noon the following day. So, I'm drinking black coffee, actually, is what's in here. And that's part of my fasting before I actually have my first meal, which is around noon, is when I have my first meal. I take a couple of supplements. One is actually a pre workout, also focus and energy. And the other one is for thyroid management as well. Not that I have a thyroid problem, but it just helps with storing fat and using it for building more muscle, as opposed to what your body generally does and just stores a lot of fat. So again, just to kind of recap, the first half of my day is my kids are taken care of. My son is on the school bus. My daughter, I take her to daycare. I start my day. I'm doing a couple hours worth of work. My first meal of the day. I take my supplements, and then I do another couple of hours worth of work. Now, I usually pick up my son from school at 3:20 p.m. So I have to usually leave around 2:45 to actually get to school, get in the rider lane also, and get myself in the queue to where I'm waiting for him. So after I pick him up, then I'm picking up my daughter from daycare, and then that takes us into the afternoon. And then, so between late afternoon and early evening, I'm spending time with my kids. Usually, I'm helping them have dinner, prepare dinner, make sure they're fed. Spending some time with them, also playing. And that's usually around the time when we're waiting mom to actually come home from work. And so that's kind of the general consensus of the day. Now, something that I've started to do recently, as of a couple of weeks ago, that I've kind of worked into my schedule because I had to figure out, how to actually get my workouts in, because now I'm working out, 6 days a week. And I'm trying to figure out how to work in those workouts, since I can't work out, in the morning. If I work out during midday, then that takes about 1 to 2 hours outside of my typical work day, and that wasn't really smart because I wasn't being as productive. So what I've started to do on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'm working out late in the evening, usually anywhere from 7 8 p.m. until around 10 or 11 p.m., 11:30ish, depending on what time I get into the gym. And Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays are 2 hour workout sessions that I usually do. By the way, more on that actually you can find out over on my YouTube shorts. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, hop on over to youtube.com/Ivan Temelkov, and you can check out all the shorts that I share regards to that. And so, again, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays in the evenings, I have 2 hour workout sessions. Those are the lengthiest workout sessions that I have. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays are just cardio workouts, which are usually about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes, depending on how many breaks I take in between. That's really just me, panting my ass off on the stair stepper at around 20 to 30-minute individual sessions. So, again, we're talking about the work and family balance in this episode of the RAS Project. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed, you can subscribe on any major platform out there where you get your podcasts in audio and also in video. You can subscribe on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Ivan Temelkov. Of course, before I forget, if you've got questions, I got answers. If you'd like to have a specific question or a topic covered on this episode, no, not this episode, excuse me, on a future episode of the RAS Project, please send me an email at ivan@razorsharpdigital.com. Make sure you throw in something adequate in the subject line so I know that there's a question that you would like to have answered. So, it's when I look at priorities in my day-to-day schedule, I have a very rigorous schedule. It's a very challenging schedule. Um, and there's some things that, for a very long period of time, I personally struggle with in terms of, finding a balance, trying to figure out how to make it all work. So, the best advice that I want to give to you guys is that find what works for you. And it takes time to find out what works for you. If you've got family, you've got one or more businesses, then figure out what works for you. Like I said, for me, I've carved out a schedule, every day that includes my priorities on what I need to tackle, what I want to tackle, what matters to me the most. And by being able to articulate those priorities, I've been able to find any kind of a balance, if even a balance exists, because there's a lot of times also that I'm working on weekends or I'm working in the evenings also, during times that otherwise, most people are probably spending time with their kids or their wife, as opposed to working. And that's one thing as an entrepreneur, as a resilient entrepreneur, that, I would give advice to many of you is this, that it's not easy for a reason. It's hard and it's going to get harder also. And it's very difficult to manage work and family and a marriage. These are all individual jobs that we are all doing. And it's difficult to manage all of those things. So I want you guys to understand that if you're running into challenges in managing your work and your family, then that's happening for a reason. It's a challenge. It's a test. And I've been there. For instance, I used to work out during the day because, my wife would get upset with me that I was working out in the evening. So I had to make a negotiation with her and said, look, I have to work during the day. If I don't work, I can't make money to support our family. And if I cannot support our family, then obviously we cannot pay our bills. We cannot take vacations. We cannot clothe the kids. I cannot put food on the table being the head of household. So, which that's a completely different discussion. But the point I'm trying to make here is that, there are some negotiations. If you're in a marriage, then you have to negotiate with your partner. You'll have to be able to articulate the priorities and why those priorities are in place and how you and your partner are going to be able to oblige those priorities. Like one of the things that I had to put in place as being non-negotiable was my workouts, my gym, because if I cannot be physically in my best shape, then there's no way that I'm going to be able to perform at my best level mentally and from a business standpoint, not to mention is being able to be the best father and husband figure possible. So I had to put in place that workout schedule, which was a challenge for a very long period of time, to say that, what, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, I'm working out in the evening so I can maximize my time during the day. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays, then I can go during the day for an hour at the gym because it's half the time. And that actually, so on Tuesdays and Thursdays, since there are weekdays, it gives me more time with family and my kids in the evening. And that has been very challenging, to be honest with you. As a father, as a husband, it's been challenging to be able to put in place those kinds of priorities. So again, the topic that we're talking about in this episode of the RAS Project is the work and family balance. You can pick up this episode anywhere you listen to audio podcasts. Also, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Ivan Temelkov. You can follow me on YouTube Shorts as well, and stay in touch with everything that's happening in my life, business, also the RAS Project as well. So, the question that I have for you, and would love to get your take on this. Please let me know on any social media platform of your choice, just simply by searching for Ivan Temelkov. Let me know, how do you manage work and family? Have you found a balance? What works for you? What doesn't work for you? I'm curious to know what other people are doing out there. It's something that I'm continuously curious about, because as part of being a lifelong learner, I'm always interested in seeing what other people are doing when it comes to managing work and family. So, with that being said, I want to thank you all for tuning in to this episode of the RAS Project. I appreciate your time. Hope you got some value out of this episode. And this week is a short week because the holiday, and the reason I say short is because I'm traveling also to see some family for the Thanksgiving holiday. It's the one holiday that I truly, truly, truly look forward to every year, to be around family and people that are important to me, to give thanks, to be grateful for the things that I have in my life specifically. So thank you guys so much for your time. I truly appreciate it. And until next episode, take care. Bye-bye.